This video will cover the Vertiv DSView Solution MP1000 High Availability feature. High Availability, or HA, enables you to reduce downtime and ensures continuous data replication by synchronizing a maximum of 3 nodes within a cluster. A cluster contains a primary node that replicates its data to 1 or 2 standby nodes. Standby nodes are promoted to primary mode if any system service fails or can be promoted manually to allow for maintenance operations such as firmware upgrades. Please note, while multiple clusters can exist on a single subnet, nodes can only belong to a single cluster at a time. Before creating a cluster for server redundancy, ensure the nodes meet the following requirements. They must be the same appliance type. For example, if the primary node is a management platform hardware appliance, then you cannot add a standby node that is a management platform virtual appliance. All nodes must be either a hardware appliance or a virtual appliance. The nodes must use the latest firmware version. They must be configured with a static IP address. This is because if the node is configured with DHCP, it may receive a different IP address when restarted and become unavailable to the cluster. The Network Time Protocol, or NTP, must be enabled on the same NTP server to ensure the time settings are consistent for all nodes. If the time settings are not synchronized, the devices that are unrolled on the management platform may not transition properly during failover. There must be a high availability license uploaded on the primary node. The HA license specifies how many nodes are permitted on a single cluster, excluding the primary node. You cannot add more nodes to a cluster than specified by the license. HA licenses can only be applied to the primary node in a cluster. Standby and maintenance nodes do not need their own independent licenses. During failover, the HA license is transferred to the new acting primary node. While the HA license remains valid for the new primary node, any future licenses being added to the system will need to use the new primary node's product lock code to activate and add an HA license to the primary node. Adding a node to a cluster is a protected operation that requires you to enable the explicit permission. It is highly recommended to enable both the high availability and manual role control settings before adding a node to the cluster. To enable the HA permissions for creating a cluster, in the web interface for the MP1000, select System Settings from the sidebar, and then select High Availability. From here, select the toggle button to allow the host server to join a cluster, and also select the toggle button to allow authorized users to initiate high availability mode transitions. Then click Save. The management platform supports up to 3 nodes within a cluster. A cluster must contain at least 2 nodes, 1 primary and 1 standby, for server redundancy. For additional reliability, a second standby node may be added to the cluster. There are 4 different server modes that are available for the management platform. Primary, which is the managing server in a cluster. Standby, a non-managing server in a cluster to which data is replicated. Maintenance, a server undergoing maintenance operations, and standalone, an independent server not included in a cluster. To avoid data collisions, all new data entries, except for maintenance operations, should be entered on the primary node only. Please note, maintenance mode is intended only for service activities, such as firmware upgrades. Data replication does not occur on nodes when set to maintenance mode. If any changes are made to a node while in maintenance mode, data may be lost. Clusters should be created from the primary node's web interface. When a cluster is created, the management platform you are currently logged into automatically becomes the primary node. Any nodes added afterward become standby nodes, which are reserved for system failover. To create a cluster, log in to the MP1000 web interface and then select Management from the left-hand sidebar. Then select High Availability. Select the plus icon in the top right corner to create a cluster. When the Create Cluster dialog box appears, click the Continue box. The cluster appears on the high availability screen with a green checkmark status indicating that the cluster is healthy. The primary node, which is the appliance on which the cluster was originally created, is automatically added to the cluster. After creating a cluster with the primary node, at least one standby node should be added. To add a node to the cluster, from the left-hand sidebar, click Management and then High Availability. Click the plus icon in the top right corner and then select Add Node. A warning message will appear stating, "This will add a new node to the cluster in standby mode. All data will be erased from the host during this operation." Also, please note only administrator users can access a node in standby mode. Next, check the Continue box and click Add Node. From here, enter the static IP address and admin credentials for the standby node, then click Add Node. If the standby node does not already have a static IP address, then one must be configured first. Next, the primary node's data begins replicating to share and synchronize with the standby node. When the health icon turns green, data replication is established. This can take several minutes. When complete, the cluster should look similar. When complete, you should now have a primary node and at least one standby node within a cluster. Each node maintains its own unique IP address. The cluster can be accessed via the primary node's IP address. Open your desired web browser and then enter the IP address of the primary node. You'll then be directed to the web UI of the current managing node in the cluster. Please note, the IP address used to access the cluster will change in the event of failover. Ensure you are always connecting to the current primary node's IP address when attempting to access the cluster.